Welcome back. Never a dull day in the world of politics. Speculation is rife that the MK Party's former Secretary General could today announce that he's leaving the organization to form his own political party. Floyd Shivambu has issued a media briefing invite, which does not seem to have been sanctioned by the MKP. In fact, Shivambu's future seems to be hanging in the balance. He's been hailed in the past as the brains behind the EFF's policy in its formative stages and for later helping to draft the MKP's constitution and build its structures. Now, during the organization's Youth Day commemorations in Durban earlier this week, party leader, former President Jacob Zuma, informed members attending there that they would not tolerate indiscipline among high-ranking party members. Of course, those comments have since been seen as a veiled attack on Floyd Shivambu himself. Let's make sense of these developments for you. Bring in our guest, Professor Bheki Mngomezulu is a political analyst and joins us now via our video link. Prof, it's lovely to see you. Thanks very much indeed for making time. So many people, of course, have been trying to connect the dots, as it were. From where you're sitting, is the writing on the wall?
Thank you very much, Ayanda, for having me, and good morning to your viewers. Yes, indeed, the speculations are out there, and you cannot blame anyone for basically guessing what is likely to happen at the media briefing by Floyd Shivambu today. There are a couple of possibilities. On the one hand, it could be that Floyd Shivambu might say that he is leaving the MK party, which will be in his right to say so. No one is prevented from doing such a thing because Chapter 2 of the Constitution gives you the right to associate yourself with any political party and then to canvass for it and to run for a position. So in principle, there will be nothing wrong with him doing that. Then the other possibility, of course, would be for him announcing that he's forming his own party, or he would be announcing that he accepts the decision by his party, that is the MK party, to go to parliament. All those possibilities are out there. And of course, if he opts for any of the three, there will be nothing wrong with that. But then some of us will then, of course, start to drill holes on some of the decisions he would have taken.
Yeah, and of course, what's at stake here is his own reputation. I mean, he at some stage spoke against former President Jacob Zuma, went on to say that he was misled. And on the 15th of August, we heard him resigning from the EFF when he made those statements. And less than a year later, there's speculation around another major move. This individual, who was thought of as being the brains behind the EFF, some might say, doesn't really seem to know what to do.
That's a very important question, Ayanda. Honestly speaking, if you hip hop from one political party to the other, then of course your political credibility is questioned. In this case, truth be told, I'm one of the people who believe that Floyd Shivambu is in fact a smart guy, let alone his book education or academic education. He appears to be a smart guy. He was an asset to the EFF, and he's been also an asset to the MK party, at least from where I'm standing. So if he were to announce that he's leaving the MK party, that will be a loss to the MK party, as it was a loss to the EFF. But then, of course, all parties have their own constitutions and they have their own way of doing things. So then if someone is found to have flouted a constitution, therefore, they have a right to take a decision. But if I were to advise him, I would say he must stay put in his current political party, because it has not been such a long time him having left the EFF. So if he were to leave the MK party, then that would tarnish his political image. And as I say, he is still a smart guy. I think the country can still benefit from him.
Yeah. Look, nobody really knows what's been discussed behind closed doors in the MK party. But Prof, do you really think he was relieved of his duties because he was in breach of the party's constitution? And I think it's worth pointing out that we've been told until this point that Floyd himself drafted that document.
By the chairperson of the party, they said that he contravened Section 3, subsection J of the Constitution, which then he also agreed that indeed that is factually correct. But if that was the only reason, my take would have been him to write a letter of apology, in which case then the party would have been able to appease those who are saying that no one should be above the Constitution. So if he had written a letter of apology, then for me that would suffice, and then he would still stay put in his position. Unless, of course, there are other reasons as to why he was relieved of his duties as the SG of the MK party. then of course I would not be privy to the information because the high command of the organization would know best what really happened, as you said, behind closed doors. But from a distance, I would have handled this matter differently by saying that write a letter of apology and then I satisfy everyone who's been complaining, but I still retain you in the position, then I maintain sustainability in the party and of course stability, especially on the eve of the local government election next year.
Right. As you're speaking, Prof, we're showing just a brief timeline of Floyd Shivambu's political career at just 42 years old, and I've got it in front of me. The major dates run into 2 pages. This is a man who's done a lot in a very short space of time. And among these scenarios that you pointed out is, the possibility of starting yet another organization, another political party on the eve of the local government elections. And my question really, Prof, is whether South Africa really needs another party. I mean, is that where Floyd Shivambu's political career will thrive?
Not at all, Ayanda. As a matter of fact, in the past, I've mentioned that if I had it my way, we'll be having at least 3 political parties. We would have the governing party, the official opposition, and the kingmaker. That would be enough. There are countries that only have 2 main political parties. Like, for example, if you talk about the US, it's 2. You talk about the UK, it's 2. There are many other countries that can point at. So you don't need so many political parties because the question becomes, are there any ideological differences? I don't see any. Take 10 political parties and then ask me what is the ideological party that makes this party stand alone from the other 9. I wouldn't be able to do so because there is no ideology. So which means then what we are doing by manufacturing these political parties, we are doing that for political expediency. We just see that as a political careerism. In other words, we are seeing politics as a way of creating jobs. That's basically what it amounts to. If I'm not happy in this party, I go out and then I start another party. I'm not happy in that party, I start another. I mean, how to explain that? We don't need so many political parties. 3 for me would be enough. But unfortunately, for you to do that, you will first have to go and amend the constitution because as it stands right now, it says anyone has a right to form any political party, canvass for that political party and do all those sorts of things. Until you amend that constitution, then definitely you are not going to stop people from forming political parties because they will tell you, I'm exercising my constitutional right. And they will be 100% correct in saying so.
Absolutely. A few people, Prof, I think would have written the script. It's amazing to see how much has happened in the 10 months since Floyd Shivambu resigned from the EFF, and I'm sure many people cannot wait for midday. Professor Bheki Mngomezulu, always a pleasure. Thanks very much indeed for speaking to us. Professor Mngomezulu, of course, speaking to us in his capacity as a political analyst. And of course, we are already stationed in Midrand. That's where that media briefing is set to take place. As soon as Floyd Shivambu takes to whatever podium will be set up there, we'll of course take you there live. Do stick around in the interim, more on the day's top stories here on the agenda.